August 28th, 2015. Welcome to Faces and Aces Las Vegas, a podcast where we share great Vegas stories and discuss tips and tricks on how to make your next Vegas trip a better experience. In the Faces segment, we welcome Ricky from the Richard Petty Driving Experience. In the Aces segment, we talk about the SLS, the Gold Strike, and the You Can Bet on That podcast. Also, we have the What Happened in Vegas news segment and our Tip the Player segment. Our website is facesandaceslv.com. Our voicemail number is 702-381-3657. No more bets. Hey everybody, and welcome to Faces and Aces Las Vegas. Joining us in the studio today, as always, we have sitting to the right of me,
Katie.
Welcome back, Katie.
Woo! I feel like I'm a special guest host now.
No, you've only been gone for, 2 episodes?
Yeah, it's not a big deal. But you guys have been going to Vegas a lot, so...
We have.
I'm just letting you have the spotlight. It's okay.
Share
all right.
the spotlight. And sitting to the left of me.
I'm Aaron.
You should say you're married to me.
People know that.
No, they don't.
You've said it.
Chris has said
it before.
Yeah, I'm just going to leave this band train and they'll know right away.
Get your facts straight. Stop laughing.
You're right.
Did you get that on tape? He said I was right.
And I'm Chris. Joining us today, we have a very special guest in the studio. Katie, would you like to introduce your friend?
Sure. I'd like to describe her as a Vegas noob. Welcome to Brittany.
Hey, welcome to our little studio.
I'm happy to be here. This
our
is awesome.
Makeshift studio. So you guys are friends from Disney.
Yes. And we were talking about her birthday coming up. It's in October. And she was thinking about having a party. But we talked a little bit before about her possibly going to Vegas at one point, but hasn't been as an adult. When was the last time you've been?
Probably when I was 10. When I was a kid and where you get left in the room and your parents go have fun.
Oh my God, I have the same experience.
So that's so sad.
Coloring books and TV. There you go, kid.
Just throw you some food and water, you're fine.
Make me sound like a pet.
You haven't been there for over 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
How old are you turning for this birthday?
I will be turning 26.
26. And Katie had the wonderful idea, say, hey, you haven't been there in over 16 years or 15 years or so. Here's the advantage of having you do this for us. You get to go to Las Vegas as if you've never been there before, because when you were there when you were 10, totally different strip, brand new hotels here, and we get to look at Las Vegas through your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about this earlier today, and it's kind of like that scene in Pirates of the Caribbean where Captain Barbossa, when he has Elizabeth Swann in front of this wonderful banquet of food, and he's
what
like,
a Disney reference.
Well, it was intentional. Thank you. But he's in front of this wonderful banquet of food, and he's saying, ooh, try the apple, try this, have some of this, because he's dead inside, like we all are.
We're jaded.
And so we get to experience the strip through fresh eyes, and we get to, see what you get to see. So
yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
So that's the plan. That's why Brittany's here.
Mm-hmm.
She's going to sit in with us today and kind of hang out with us. You get a little bit of flavor for her personality, and we'll get to know her a little bit better. And at some point in the near future, we're going to have her back, and we're going to talk about what she expects from this Las Vegas trip. We're going to get some ideas and things of what she likes, make some suggestions for her, try to craft the perfect Las Vegas trip for her. She'll go on that trip, and she'll come back, and she'll report to us. We may even do some recording while we're out in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
I'm down for that.
Yeah. So we'll put it all together, and there'll be a special newbie episode, although we didn't want to go with the word noob, right?
Noob.
Why didn't we want to go with noob?
Because I'm a gamer.
That works out.
Oh, that's perfect. Okay. So...
And she really likes Elvis.
Yes.
There are so many things we can come up with.
I love Elvis Presley.
And then we'll dig into more stuff that you like, and we'll put it all together. And Aaron will also help, because we're not paying for this trip. We don't roll like that. We don't have that kind of money. Aaron will help us find the best deal for you, because that is part of the Vegas trip, getting a good deal.
That's their part of the deal. I'm more into the other stuff.
So as Katie mentioned earlier in the show, Aaron and I did head out to Las Vegas earlier this week.
A few times, actually.
Oh, we made it almost to Vegas the second time, but we'll get into that in just a moment. One story that I would like to tell, last episode or the episode before, I can't remember, was the CEO of Zappos, worth something like $750 million dollars. He's living in a trailer park. And I wanted to go see what this trailer park looks like. And not that I had a chance to go in because it was a security guard, but I just had a nice time meeting this woman who was the security guard, and she told me a cute story about dashboard cookies. Are you familiar with this?
No.
It's because we were in Las Vegas. The temperature
you put them on the dashboard and
was
they bake.
114 degrees while we were out there. And this is a thing where you go and you get your Pillsbury dough or make your own dough. You put them on a little cookie sheet, put them in your car, and it sits for about 2 hours. And when you come back, you have cookies. When you get off work, you have cookies, and your car smells like cookies. How awesome is that? Huh?
I work in Santa Cruz, and it's been 116 degrees there, so...
Oh, will you try it?
I'm going to try that this week.
Will you really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, just don't make sure you do over 2 hours, because I wouldn't want any burnt cookies.
Yeah.
Burnt dashboard cookies.
You said I'm sharing.
I was just commenting in general the type of cookies that I would want.
The other thing that I wanted to bring up is from the last episode, and if you've been following, we've actually talked about this for 2 episodes. We talked about the hitchBAT, the hitchhiking robot that travels the country. And if you listen to episode 5, episode 6, you're probably saying enough with this robot already. It's already been
Chris and Aaron are obsessed with this robot.
We were upset. Well, you're the one who sent me the text that told me that he died in Philly.
Well, Aaron heard about it, and then I sent you. I was like, "Does Chris know?" And he's like, "I don't know." And I said, "I'll break the news."
He was disassembled in Philly. How's that? That's a little bit more gentle.
I think he was vandalized in Philly. I tell it how it is.
Aaron.
What we decided to do is create our own hitchBAT, and we're going to send this hitchBAT from Los Angeles across the country. Our little robot is going to hitchhike his way all the way over to Philadelphia. Because such a great injustice was done, because the other hitchhiking robot was destroyed in Philadelphia, we felt the need that justice needed to be found. We need a hero. This country needs a hero.
A vigilante.
So we designed our robot to look like Batman, and we're calling it the hitchBAT. I don't know what more needs to be said about it.
Well, I can say that he's not legally affiliated with Bat nor Man nor Batman, and there are many differences. He's modeled after and not resembling.
Exactly. So let's make it clear: we're not affiliated with DC Comics in any way. We're not affiliated with the original hitchBAT in any way, nor are we affiliated with Batman, trademark, Warner Brothers, whatever, all that kind of stuff. This is just us being goofy people conducting a simple social experiment. We want to see if the good people of the United States will pick up a strange-looking Batman-styled robot that sits on the side of the road, put it in their car, and drive it across the country. That's the experiment that we would like to conduct.
And there are a few good people in the United States, so I think that might happen.
Yeah. And you at home might be asking yourself, what does this have to do with Las Vegas? Absolutely nothing.
It's just another extracurricular activity for these two.
But since we made him, we can send him wherever we want.
I mean, I went on a business trip for 2 weeks, and I end up seeing a robot in your house. It's kind of a crazy turn of events.
You leave, things change.
And the
That's what
word
happens.
robot is a very generous description.
It's not a robot; it's a bucket.
Yeah, pretty much.
He's right here.
I can hear
so
you.
here's my question to you.
Yeah.
Although I'm very excited about your new endeavor, guys, how are you going to let go?
It's going to be hard. I've grown really attached to it the last 3 weeks that we've been building it.
I saw him sitting on the couch eating popcorn with it and watching TV.
I took it out
It's a little
back.
sad.
I took it out back. We played some baseball together. So we're going to find out if this little robot can actually hitchhike his way across the country. And the way that it's Vegas related is because initially when the original hitchBAT was supposed to travel across the country, one of the stops was going to be Las Vegas, and I wanted to be the one to go to Las Vegas and bring it here. So since I can't do that, I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to take this one there and see what happens.
Right.
We could also gamble on it.
That's the other way that's tied in. We're taking action. So if you call our phone number... No, I'm kidding. Katie's just shaking her head at me. Seriously.
No.
One last way it's Vegas related is a couple days ago we found out that the Batmobile is currently at the Gold Strike Hotel and Gambling Hall. And they have not just the 1966 Batmobile, they also have some cars from the movie Fast and Furious 7, the most recent one that came out earlier this year. They have 3 or 4 of those cars there.
Yeah, those are really good looking cars. They look quite fast and furious. I mean, some of them are more furious than fast, but
Yeah, some of them are just mildly angry, not quite furious.
Not really furious, but all of them seem pretty fast, actually.
So if you are a fan of movie cars or TV cars, go check them out. It's a nice little collection of cars. And here's where it gets really cool. So Aaron and I drove out there thinking, okay, we could probably get some pictures of the hitchBAT. In front of the Batmobile. So we get there, and we're sitting there with our little bucket that looks like Batman and reposing him in front of the Batmobile. One of the pit bosses looks over and sees us kind of crawling around on all fours. Like I have the little bucket on my back. Aaron's taking the pictures.
You were causing a lot of attention.
We were drawing some attention, and the guy came over and asked us what we're doing, and we explained the situation. And the guy, his name is Max, really, really nice guy. He calls his marketing director over, Keith, and they let us put the little hitchhiking Batman robot inside the 1966 Batmobile. How cool is that? Like, yeah, it's, what's killing me is we had an opportunity to sit in the 1966 Batmobile. Neither of us went for it. I didn't even think of it. You're smiling like it just now occurred to you.
I really didn't think of it. I was more concerned with hitchBAT. Sitting in it.
Yeah, me too.
Me sitting in it myself, but we do know someone good there, and maybe we could sit in it when we go back. Who knows?
Yeah.
That exhibit will be there with all the cars, including the Batmobile, will be there for a little while longer.
I believe for about 6 months. So This is August, so we're looking at 6 months from middle of August. So if you're in Las Vegas and you're interested in checking out some of the cars from the movie Fast and Furious 7, or if you want to go see the original Adam West Batmobile, you're going to want to go to Gold Strike Hotel and Gambling Hall located in Jean, Nevada. That's roughly about 30 minutes south of Las Vegas off of the 15 freeway. You can look them up over at goldstrikejean.com.
So I was very happy that we were able to get this footage, though, because my original strategy for getting the footage was, quick, they aren't looking, go put them in the car and run. So I'm glad that we went your way. And
that's one of the cool things about working on the robot and doing this podcast. We've run into a lot of really cool, nice people along the way. By the way, if you're curious what this thing looks like, or we don't want to go into, we've already gone into way too much detail for the last 3 episodes. Please go to hitchbat.com. He has a Twitter account, etc. So,
should we move to news?
Yeah, let's do the news.
Uber and Lyft now allowed to operate at McCarran Airport. 'Cause I'm leaving on a jet plane. Sources from Las Vegas Review-Journal. Ride-hauling companies Uber and Lyft will be allowed to operate at McCarran International Airport, and when they do, they'll have pickup areas for customers to find their rides. At McCarran, Uber and Lyft customers will be allowed to be dropped off at the airport's departure curbs. Pickups will be a little bit different. Customers will be required to meet their drivers at numbered stalls in terminal parking areas near valet parking. Drivers who want to provide rides from their airport would have to go to the staging area. Once they have arrived there, they will be placed in their company's app queue and will be able to be hired in order of which they arrive. Once a customer has made contact with a company through the app, the driver will proceed to the pickup area. Checking into the queues will also flag the airport of the driver's presence so the company can be charged an airport use fee.
This is interesting because they're finally figuring out, because we were wondering, how are they going to do Uber and Lyft when it comes to the hotels? Maybe this is the solution for them, if they can make this work at the airport.
Just designated areas is the key, that it won't interrupt the flow of traffic for the taxis and limos especially.
Right. And I think you brought up a good point way back when.
I usually do.
Yeah, actually, that's true. I'll give it to you. You usually do. You brought up a good point way back when we were talking about the hotels. They are going to charge for waiting in the designated lots for the Uber drivers. So that's why the airport
I
wants
was
to do it.
For a business trip for 2 weeks at San Francisco.
Yeah.
And Uber's huge there. Lyft not so much, but Uber's really, really big.
Yeah.
I got a lot of pushback from taxi drivers, a lot of hateful pushback.
I imagine that's going to be a really good business for Uber in Vegas.
I think so, but there's still, with all this, there's still a cost that we're not factoring in. So they make this $4,000 or $1,000 a week, but then they have costs for their car, costs for gas, costs for insurance, lots of costs. So,
well, I want to ask Brittany,
home.
If you went to a strange town such as Las Vegas, would you use an Uber or would you use a taxi?
I would use an Uber.
See?
Right.
It might be a generational thing, though.
Could be a generational thing.
Yeah, because
but
I really don't use taxis.
Yeah. Well, because we live in LA. Did you grow up here in LA?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So you have no call. Like,
no.
if someone coming from New York would be more accustomed, would go with a cab.
But a lot of people in New York are using Uber. So
slowly. And like Aaron was saying, it's a generational thing.
Yeah, but when you're in New York, you get a taxi. That's how it is in New York.
Yeah, it just is. Because also that's what the city regulations are. They don't want Uber to come in because when you close down cabs, you're talking about jobs, one of the old school jobs that Vegas used to have. Like, it's kind of like getting rid of, let's just do all video gambling, no more dealers. People need work. People need to have jobs.
I guess long story short for me is it's going to change the industry. It's going to shake it up a little bit. And I just feel like Uber's going to step it up.
When you told me about the people hating on you for getting in an Uber, it seemed like the taxi drivers were yelling out the window at you, "Hey, don't do that."
Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
Kind of a funny way to show their support.
I wanted to scream, "Is this how you pick up women too?" Yell out of your car and not say Don't say
But
things.
also with Ubers, they're so much cleaner, and taxis, they always smell weird. And also, you can track your Uber. You can communicate with your driver. With a taxi, you can't. You have to communicate with the actual person. I don't like that.
Yeah. By the way, speaking of smelling weird, my sister right now, she has a rental car because something happened to her other car, and the new car that they rented smells of cigarettes, whoever had it first. And the other night, her kids got in the car, they took a big whiff, and said, "Ew, it smells like Vegas."
It smells like Vegas.
Because they had just gone to Las Vegas last week.
Oh, that's a good warning for her, the cigarette smell.
Oh, are you allergic?
I will bring my inhalers.
Oh, are you allergic to cigarette smell?
Yes.
Oh, all right. That factors in, though.
It's not going to kill me, but I will make sure I have my 2 inhalers.
I'll get you a little construction mask as well to wear around.
But that does factor into where you stay, because we could pick the Madara, which is no smoking, no gambling.
But you still walk through... If you walk through a casino and you want to go to other places, you're going to walk through a smoky casino. The better ones don't smell as smoky.
I think if I survived at the age of 10, I will survive now.
Yeah, but you want to have the best experience, because some casinos are better at ventilating. Like Aria, they're much better, as opposed to going somewhere downtown.
Higher ceilings.
And negative air machines. There's a lot of equipment that they can purchase to eliminate the smell of smoke. It all has to do with the money.
We got you. We'll take care of you.
All right. Second news story. First medical marijuana dispensary to open.
I was gonna go to class before I got high. Come on, y'all. Check it out.
So the source is the Weed Blog. A lot of marijuana industry members have had their eyes on Las Vegas for a long time. Medical marijuana dispensaries are set to open all over Nevada in the near future, and all of them will be able to sell to tourists from other states that have a valid medical marijuana patient's ID in their home states. Considering how many tourists visit Las Vegas, it could become the medical marijuana capital of the world. How do we feel about this?
The competition was huge. I was following along when they were dealing with the permitting, and it was a selection process, and people paid humongous application fees to apply, and they only chose 30 or however many they chose to be selected, and they're all very powerful top players who have chains of these dispensaries in other states. So it's definitely going to change the whole Vegas kind of sin scene. Most people, I don't think, are going to be doing it for medical purposes.
My thoughts on this is if I'm at a blackjack table and a guy rolls up at the blackjack table stone and he takes 20 minutes to decide if he needs to hit 16, that's going to make me mad. That's all I got to feel about it.
You only think about you in these situations.
If they want to smoke weed, because at some point, let's be real, this is going to go legal at some point, right? How do they control it? Because you have people who drink and play. You know, how is weed going to affect...
They should create a pothead section.
Right?
Pothead section.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think here's the difference,
clever.
because when you drink, you're getting drunk. If you're smoking weed at the table, it's drifting over to the dealer.
I don't think they'll let them. I don't think they'll let them smoke at the table. I think it's a do it in a private room sort of thing.
Yeah, precisely. Like at an airport, there'll be a weed room.
But specifically at the blackjack table, there's a lot of people who can't count anyway, who take a long time. So
that's what I'm saying.
So I don't know if
what do you think, Katie?
If the stoner's going to be any worse than the people that can't count.
You know, living in an area where there is a dispensary every block.
Yeah.
2 or 3 even sometimes.
Oh, yeah. We see that
and
green cross every corner.
They come and go.
Yeah.
The new ones bloom.
Yeah.
Others fizzle.
Yeah.
Die.
Yeah.
I think Vegas, as much as they have souvenir sections, I think those will all go away and little green crosses will end up there.
Yeah. Or for that matter, people could do like those little, like the Listerine strips where they could get their THC that way or the whatever.
Edibles, things like that.
Right. So, I mean, it's going to happen. I'm just wondering where this plays out. Like,
still, they're going to be very successful, I'm sure.
Yeah,
I am curious to see how it plays out. I just want to see how the behavior changes.
Sin City, so I mean, it's going to play out really well.
Yeah,
for them.
but will there be smoke-free, quote-unquote, weed smoke-free casinos, weed smoke-free areas?
Well, they already created vaporizers that have a special type of THC wax in it that it doesn't actually emit odor.
Okay.
My coworker uses it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
I've been having a glaucoma problem. Do you think your friend could...
well, he's 21, so, you know.
Okay, so he's what? He'll hook me up? Is that what you're saying? Don't tease me. Let me know.
And that's what happened in Vegas. I'm ending it there.
All right. This time, in our Faces segment, we're joined by Ricky. Ricky is a relatively new transplant to Las Vegas. He's been there for about 1.5 years, and he has one of the coolest jobs in the city. He works for the Richard Petty Driving Experience. If you want to drive a muscle car, a stock car, or an exotic car and open them up to 160 miles per hour, he's the guy you go see. But first, we start off by talking a little bit about what it's like to raise a family in North Las Vegas. Then we talk about his awesome job, and he shares some really touching and inspirational stories about some of the people that he's met while working there. This is a good one, folks. Please enjoy my conversation with Ricky.
We moved out here in 2010 when my wife got orders, military. Mm-hmm. She got orders here. And so we got orders, and we moved here. I was a little hesitant at first because Las Vegas, I mean... Who really lives in Las Vegas, you think?
It's a vacation town. Not a lot of people think about people living here, which is part of the reason we're doing this.
Yeah. A lot of people don't realize that this is like a full functioning, I mean, of course it is, but it's like a normal community like anywhere else.
Yeah, a lot of people call this place home, where most people think of this as, this is the vacation place we come to and go crazy and whatnot. But you guys have to you're here 24/7, and people bring you crazy here.
Right, it is. And that's the thing, you know, everybody's like, oh man, it must be so awesome living there. You must go to the Strip all the time. And to be honest, we rarely go. It's just because of it's so hectic and stuff, and everyday life doesn't allow you. It's still a vacation for us to go down to the Strip, I guess you could say. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's definitely a vacation spot. Then there's obviously the outer line areas. And I ended up moving back to North Carolina kind of off and on, like splitting my residency half here, half there for a job, for my previous job. And then it just got too much. So I said, you know, that's it. I got to be here with my family. Yeah. So I moved back here for good in 2013. Yeah.
So you've been steady here for about 1.5 years now.
Right.
What are your impressions of living here?
the people, I guess just like anywhere else, are very nice, and then you'll find some that are just don't want to be talked to. They kind of want to be left alone. But for the most part, I'm sure you've seen it, everybody wants to be talked to because it's the party city. Everybody wants to be a part of it, and I don't know, I guess mingle and talk and they're from all over the place, so that they have no problem talking about from where they're from.
But for you, I mean, you're going to the local places, and that's one of the things that I, as an outsider, have heard for many, many years is that the locals hang out with each other at specific casinos off strip.
Absolutely,
not even casinos. That's wrong. That's local bars off strip. I hear bar culture is huge here.
Yes, it is. There's local places. There's a place right down the street from here called Lucky's that a lot of people, you can just see them just streaming in, and it seems like their place to hang out. But they also, it's not just for adults. It's also family oriented because they have a split spot. Yeah. So you have a split. You have like the bar side where you can go and have a drink, or you have the restaurant side where you can bring your family. And a lot of people, I don't know if anybody talks about like what they call them, like the station casinos or the outskirts casinos.
Sure. Yeah.
They're one of my favorites is Aliante, which is right down the 215 on my way to work. Yeah. And it has a movie theater, a TGI Fridays. Right. It's probably one of the nicer places to stay. Yeah. There's Red Rock, there's Aliante, which is more like the family one, and then there's Red Rock, which is like your adult
resort type place.
Yes.
Yeah, that's off strip, different,
and it's amazing,
where you can still get in all the gaming you want. They have all the regular table games, but it's a little bit less craziness.
Right, it's not as crowded. It's more local, so it's not like the ooh ah. It's more like, hey, cool, just relax. And Red Rock, unfortunately, that's one place that I have not been locally.
Not yet, anyway.
But I'm going because we pass by it every time we go to Wet n Wild, which is the water park out here. Which they finally opened. We got here in 2010, and there was no water parks. And I was like, why in the desert would you not have a water park? Next thing you know, they got 2 of them now, so which is great.
Right.
Down by the strip is Cowabunga Bay, which is more for like the tourists and everybody coming down or whatever.
Right.
Or people live out in Henderson. And Red Rock is beautiful. There's camping out there. Yeah. There's hiking. It's just beautiful.
Which is a nice piece of advice, because if you are coming out here with your family and you do like nature, take a day and just go decompress. Spend 1 or 2 nights on the strip, and then go decompress out in the desert where it's beautiful, gorgeous.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those places you get to go and you're on your own clock.
Yeah. It's almost like spending time in one of those sound deprivation chambers where you just it's just peace and quiet, and you get to meditate and just
exactly
contemplate your place in this universe.
Exactly.
Without all the noise and lights.
It's beautiful. It's comfortable. It's a little bit cooler because you're at a little bit higher elevation. What a lot of people don't know is just north of where we are now, which is about 30 minutes north of the strip. 30 to 40 minutes, maybe about an hour, is Mount Charleston. It's just an amazing view, and it's 10 degrees cooler up there. So if that Las Vegas heat is starting to get to you, and you just want to go someplace that you can just cool off and relax, they have waterfalls up there.
Oh wow,
it's beautiful.
Let's talk a little bit about what you do.
I instruct or drive race cars out at the Speedway. I basically take people for rides, or I let them drive, stuff like that. And they work for a great company. They provide a motorsports experience to people that don't normally get that opportunity. So basically, if you're ever like a motorsports enthusiast and you visit Las Vegas, just 15 minutes north, you can go to the Speedway. You can drive muscle cars, stock cars, Ferraris, exotic cars.
Wow.
And we do, like I said, we do rides at 160 miles an hour.
You give people rides, or you let them open them up and drive them at 160?
Both.
Wow.
Well, both. I mean, we let people drive as fast as we give rides. It's just if they're able to listen to the instructor, because we don't want them to be unsafe at that speed.
What type of cars?
NASCAR style stock cars, and then we also do an unsupervised American Muscle Car Challenge, where they can drive a Dodge Challenger SRT8, a Z01 Camaro, or a Shelby GT500 Mustang. Oh, yes.
Wow.
And basically, you get one practice run with the Challenger. It doesn't have as much horsepower. It's not supercharged. It doesn't get away from you as easily.
Yeah.
So you get to practice running the course, just to learn the course. And then you're going to go out there and do a timed run in the Challenger. And then a timed run in the Camaro.
Yeah.
Timed run in the Mustang. You can have lights all over the track that'll tell you what to do, where to be, what to do.
Yeah.
And that's unsupervised.
Wow.
Basically, you're doing 0 to 60.
Yeah.
60 to 0. And then a cornering module where basically you're hitting chicanes, a couple right-handers, a couple left-handers, a couple 180s.
Yeah.
It's almost like a road course.
Yeah.
So it allows...
You take every safety precaution.
We do.
The people are strapped in with the helmets.
Correct.
The whole 9 yards.
Yep. You're getting like a normal seatbelt, but it's an open area.
Yeah.
The cars may slide a little bit.
Yeah, so if the car gets away from you, you're not crashing into anything.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay, good. Yeah.
And so it's very important. We felt, we need to make it for everybody to be able to drive, just like the stock cars.
Yeah.
They're very similar to the NASCARs you see on TV.
Those are much harder to drive, though. Than,
Right.
Yeah.
But that's for the stock car side.
Yeah.
We make it as close to it as possible, but we also build it for durability to make sure it lasts and that anybody can drive one. So they set up a little bit on what we call tight side to make sure no one's going to spin out or anything like that. Because we're really proud of our safety record.
Yep.
We're really proud of our maintenance record. We take many precautions as we possibly can to make sure that it's a safe experience.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we let the students know these are not toys.
Yeah.
They are the real deal.
Yeah.
So just have a little bit of respect for the car, trust in the car, but try not to drive over your head.
Yeah.
And usually that's all they need. Because everybody wants to go as fast as they can, but they don't want to mess it up.
Anything funny that's happened, for example, someone who's thinking that maybe that they can handle this car, they come in with a lot of bravado, and then once they get behind the wheel are humbled by the power of what they're driving.
Yes.
Does that happen often?
That does happen.
Yeah.
You get someone that comes out, and I tell people all this all the time when I do crew chiefing or even when I'm instructing, when I'm doing driver introductions, whichever. And I'll talk to somebody, and they're like, yeah, I got this. This is easy. They see it on TV. They think it's just easy. And they get out there, and they realize how much harder it is.
It's a lot of horsepower.
And they get the death grip on the steering wheel.
Yeah.
And they, and it's just human nature to you have to, it's almost counterintuitive to do what we're asking you to do.
Yeah.
So you're gripping that wheel so tight that... And you don't want to press the gas coming off the turn. You're like, how am I supposed to get on the gas through the turn? What am I? And it's like, just trust me, try it. And usually by the end, they figured it out and they're starting to get it and they start to relax a little bit.
Yeah.
But at first, I've had that plenty of times. And I've had people come out, which is absolutely okay, that are just like, I just want to drive a race car on a racetrack.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
Do about 50.
And they do about, 80 miles an hour.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't realize when they're watching NASCAR and they see the guys going slow on the yellow flag, they don't realize that's like 75 miles an hour.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or in some tracks it's 55 or 60. But it looks like they're crawling because they are. For them,
that would be me. I would be driving, thinking I'm doing... I think I'm flying down. I'd be doing maybe 65, 70, leaving the blinker on.
That's funny too. Oh my, I cannot tell you how many times I'm like, all right, let's work our way out onto the racetrack. We're coming around on the apron. We're about to come out on the racetrack. Yeah. All right, start working your way out on the racetrack. And they reach for the blinker. Or we're coming off the racetrack. All right, you can go ahead and work your way down. Go ahead and cross that white line. Yeah. And they reach for the blinker. And I'm like, did you just reach for the blinker? They're like, yeah, I can't believe it.
It's habit.
It's habit. Yeah. And it's such a rewarding deal to do that because for those people, they just cross something off on their bucket list.
Yeah.
They may not have gone the fastest. They may not have set a land speed record.
Yeah.
But they had the time of their life, and they'll never forget it.
Yeah.
So that was one of the things that I totally love about my job is I get to see people. It's almost like a friend of ours, Katie, and my wife are Disney fanatics.
Yeah, huge.
This is our Disneyland for me, is the racetrack.
That's awesome.
And I get to see people. It's like working at Disneyland for me.
Yeah.
I get to see people do things and have fun and leave with a smile on their face. And it's definitely rewarding.
Have you ever had people come in and do the experience and actually say, this is my calling. This is what I need to do. Like, to basically discover that they are a good driver and probably with enough training could compete professionally.
Actually, we just did a thing with Yahoo and iRacing where we brought last year's iRacing champion. And I don't know if you're familiar with iRacing. It's a online racing simulator game / basically people buy. I have one upstairs. It's a full cockpit to race online.
Wow.
It costs you $100 a year or whatever, or $12 a month or whatever it is. And well, last year's champion had never driven a race car before. So we brought him out and put him in a car, and the kid was very talented. Now he's off doing Legends cars and stuff out in North Carolina.
Wow.
Which is very cool. And he just had a blast.
That's super cool.
And his mom was saying, I knew he was going to do this from the day he picked up a toy car.
Wow.
And so for someone that had never driven a race car before, had only gotten to play on the computer and see what it was about, and then come out and drive one of ours and then just have a blast.
Yeah.
And then say, that's it, this is what I need to do. And now he's trying to work his way up professionally.
He'll have a blast and possibly find what it is that they were meant to do.
Right.
Wow, that's amazing.
And he was the online world champion. Yeah. So now he's trying to do it for real.
That's super cool.
Yeah. So it's pretty neat to see sometimes. And then you get that a lot too. Man, you have the best job in the world. What do I have to do this?
Yeah.
We even have, I guess you could call them loyal fans or loyal addicts, if you will. They want to try every track that we go to. So they travel the country and try all the different tracks as if they're NASCAR drivers going all the different tracks.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's very cool.
Is it expensive to do? I mean, the travel aside.
We actually do the rewards program where I believe, I'm not sure if it's still in effect, but at the time, we were knocking off like $200 off their experiences. So it was very affordable for them to do.
What is the ballpark price for it? Let's say if my wife wanted to try it. What's the price range?
Usually it's about $4.99 to $5.50. Within that $50 for like an 8-lap experience. Or it's as simple or as cheap as $100 or $79 if someone's driving. Let's say you were driving or your wife was driving, but you wanted to go for a ride. Okay. It'd be like $79 instead of $109. We discount it, but when you go for a ride for 3 laps at 160 miles an hour, or depending on the track, of course. Like if you go to Daytona, it's like 175. You go to most mile and a half, it's about 160. If you go to a mile track, like we just set up an operation up at Pikes Peak, it's a 1 mile track, and that track is a lot of fun to drive on. It is. You really have to drive it. It's fun. Like. Not to discount Las Vegas, because Las Vegas is an awesome racetrack. It's just very smooth. It's all about just real gentle on the wheel and stuff. Whereas you go to Pikes Peak, you're actually wheeling the car into the corner. You're on the brakes. We don't use any brake at Vegas. You're just off the gas, let it roll, and then back on the gas.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So it's one of those deals that it's very... it's just a different type of experience. Yeah. And we used to run at all these different racetracks, and we're trying to go back. Like we do New Hampshire, Indianapolis, Charlotte, Atlanta, Kentucky, Kansas, Vegas. Like I said, Daytona and all that stuff. But yeah, so anyways, but
yeah, let me ask this, because I think I already know the answer. Because it's probably an insurance issue, but there's a lot of street racing that happens, and people will do a lot of cool things to their car, open it up on the street, which is clearly unsafe for them and for the pedestrians or people who might be out.
Right.
Can people bring their cars to your track and go through a couple laps of training and then just open up their cars to what it can do?
We don't offer that. Yeah. But there are ways to do stuff, because I think racetracks across the country are taking a very responsible course of action to try and help these kids or prevent this stuff from happening. Yeah. Like Friday Night Mayhem, like Las Vegas Motor Speedway, the Strip. They allow people to bring their cars out for a very cheap price. I think it's just for like an insurance liability thing that they pay for. Yeah. Otherwise, they're allowed to run their cars on the track and see how fast they can go. Yeah. Las Vegas Motor Speedway also offers a couple times a year, a charity, laps for charity. Basically, you pay to bring your car on the oval. You're not going crazy fast. Yeah. It's like 80 miles an hour. But for a lot of people, that seems to be enough. Yeah. Most, because every once in a while you have the speed demons that, I can do this, no problem. Yeah. And they can. So 80 miles an hour is very controlled on that racetrack. Yeah. And my advice is go to a place like, a lot of people don't know about it, but there's a racetrack right over the hill here, over the hump in Pahrump, we call it, over the mountain. Yeah.
And Pahrump is a city.
Pahrump is a city, just about 40 minutes west of Vegas. That basically it's Willow Springs, and basically you can take your street car and go open it up on a road course.
Which is great because there's a lot of street racing in Los Angeles, and you see it on the news where the helicopters come in and the cops come in, the cars scattered like a Fast and Furious movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and it's a shame. I don't know, Alhambra, different cities where they're just a lot of the kids are putting themselves in danger, and this is a good option for them coming out here and going to some of the places that you mentioned.
Exactly, and unfortunately, a lot of kids are young. They think they're invincible. They'll live forever. And I've been there. I never street raced. Yeah. I've been to them and I've seen it. But I've never, I think I was under really tight watch with my father because he knew the kind of driver I was. So he knew where I was going, what I was doing, or just kept me really busy. It was between sports and racing. There was no way. Yeah. So, or he's like, well, I guess he figures if he takes me to the racetrack and I do enough beating and banging out there, the street, the street will be like whatever, which actually works because a lot of people say that I drive on the street like a grandma because I have no desire to push it on the street. I don't, because every weekend I'm at the racetrack doing something or at work doing something that... Yeah.
Well, that and you respect the vehicle. You know what it's capable of. You have more experience than others.
Exactly. That's true. And that's another thing. I understand the thrill. And what a lot of people don't realize is motorsports are the epitome of Murphy's Law. Yeah. Because... whatever can happen will. A lot of people don't realize they're like, oh, we can go street race. In a perfect world, they both go straight line. Everything's fine. Everything's good. What they don't realize is there's pedestrians there. Can you hit them? Probably. Or can you hurt yourself or your street car? Yes. Let's take Kyle Busch's accident at Daytona, for example. The one spot they thought they would never hit, they hit. Same thing happened at Talladega, but this time they put a safer barrier there, but it still hurt. Whatever can happen will. Michael Waltrip, quite a few years ago, was racing at Bristol, and there was a piece of the fence that stuck out just a little bit, but it was at the exit of the corner where they didn't think anybody would. Well, it just so happens he got pushed up that way and hits it. The car disintegrates, breaks. It just totally... it broke in half, or I think the only piece that was intact was his driver cockpit. Everything else was just exploded.
Which is because that's how it's built.
Right, exactly. But it just goes to show, like, what if you took your street car and did something like your drag racing, and there was a fence down there that you didn't think, whatever.
Yeah, because those cars, although they are somewhat built to protect the driver and the passenger, they're not built the same way that professional cars are built.
Correct.
But if you're driving your car... the speed of what a professional driver is doing,
it could be bad.
It could be. Unfortunately, I don't want to say or refer to, but look what happened to Paul Walker.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of people don't realize that the what if you always think about, if you sit back, I guess that's my advice to any kind of young racers, that, if you sit back and look at the what ifs, it's not worth it. You want to invest. If you're a young racer and you want to go racing, find a local track. Find what it takes to be able to bring your car out there to do it. My dad always told me, if it doesn't make you faster or safer, don't spend the money. So, anyways, but yeah, that's my little pedestal. So
let's use that as a jumping off point. To this is something that we do on the show, that we talk to people who live here.
Yeah,
and we say, hey, and in your case, well, I don't know, is gratuity accepted where you work?
It is, but all of our people are very, I guess they're very...
accepted but not expected.
Right. It's accepted but not expected, and to even prove that point, a lot of the times gratuity is put towards like something that everybody can benefit from.
Oh, that's
like,
cool. Yeah.
Like we all put it towards our Christmas party because that's the one time of the year that we get to just kind of let loose and be together, and it's very much appreciated, but definitely not expected.
Yeah.
I think more than anything, even comment cards that say, "This was the time of my life. I'll never forget it." We actually had I'm going to go into a story a little bit about. We had an Army active duty member. His wife really wanted to. He always wanted to drive a race car, never got to. So his wife, before one of his deployments, was like, "Hey, I really want to get him out there and just have some fun." He came, had the time of his life. Was thanking the instructors, thanking the crew chiefs, just had a great time. Talked about it to all of his friends, just would not, just one of those things.
Yeah.
Well, he went to Afghanistan, I believe Afghanistan or Iraq, and was killed with an IED. His wife turned around and wrote a letter talking about how that experience was probably one of the, other than of course his marriage to his wife or all this stuff, but one of the most incredible experiences he could have ever had. So it was things like that make you, realize what we do is special.
It is.
And these are the kind of stories that we're proud of.
I'm a little lost for words because it does. And when you were telling me that, when I was hearing that story, I got the chills. I knew where it was going, and it just kind of, take a moment because that's an important story.
So,
and I do like that when you get to do something that has an impact on someone's life. For example, like the story you told before about the guy who won the contest and came and played. Like that's another one that where it impacts people's lives.
Absolutely.
That's the positivity that I want to bring. So
sure.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's one of those. It's one of those things that people don't really get to see a lot.
Yeah.
They come, they have fun, they leave, and it's just it is what it is. Yeah. But then you get these stories that people show up and you don't realize the effect that they've had.
It's nice to be a small part of that.
Yeah. I once gave a ride to a gentleman that was paralyzed. He had the greatest sense of humor. We go to put him in the car and he's like, "Oh, my legs." We're like, "Really?" And he laughs and he likes to make light of it. Yeah, because he knows it's not that it's uncomfortable for us, but we just want to make sure we take care of him the best we can. Yeah. So we're obviously trying to make it as comfortable as possible, and then so he makes a joke like that my legs. I'm like, what? And then he looks at us like, "Did you really just fall for that?" So
that's my move. That's what I would do.
Yeah, me too. Like I think I have a kind of a zany sense of humor. So when something like that happens, I can totally appreciate it.
Oh yeah.
And so so stuff like that. Yeah. But once again, he gets out and he's just like, that was probably the most incredible ride. We once gave a ride group to pretty much an entire group of blind personnel. Like they were all blind in one way or another. Like some can see a little bit, some can see shades, but most of them can't see anything. So they just go off of the sensation of the feel.
That's interesting. Wow.
Yeah, and the sounds and stuff. So that's and so some of the things that a lot of people don't realize that we get to do. Yeah, it's very rewarding and allows people to do something that maybe they wouldn't ever get a chance. I take it for granted because I've been racing my whole life, and I don't know life without a race car. So,
Okay, so let's jump right into the Aces part of the show. This week, we're going to talk about the SLS, the Gold Strike, and the You Can Bet on That podcast. We're probably going to just talk very briefly about these properties, mostly because we really want to dig into You Can Bet on That. So,
sounds like a good plan, Chris.
So for the SLS, what'd you think?
It was a good experience. The price was definitely appealing. We did this at the spur of the moment.
Yeah, I mean, the SLS which we're taking a new approach to the Aces segment of the show. Rather than say the entire property is an ace, we don't really know because we didn't try out the spa. We didn't hang out this trip. We didn't hang out by the pool. So rather than saying the entire property is an ace, we're just going to pick out the things that we did try. And if we liked it, we're going to share that with you.
Yeah, if it's an ace, not if it's a queen or a joker.
Exactly.
The scale.
Exactly. The best things that we experienced at this property. The price was an ace for sure.
Yeah, and let's talk a little bit about the booking process because we did this at the spur of the moment, if you will. Kind of a let's go to Vegas sort of thing.
On a previous trip to Las Vegas, I had gambled at their casino, so I get the offers. The offer that I got was a $45 midweek room, which is a good offer, and I thought they would be more than happy to extend it to Aaron as well because I'm staying there. Why not have two people stay there? That's extra money in their pocket. So we call the casino marketing line the thing that comes on the offer on the postcard. And I asked them to honor the offer that they sent me for $45 a night, which I received. When I called, she said, "I'm sorry, we can't do that. What is your player's card number? Sorry, we can't give you 45. The best that we can do is 58 one night, 62 the next night." And so I said, okay, you guys offered a certain amount. I'm going to have to rethink this since you guys are changing the rules a little bit midstream. So I hung up with her, called Aaron. I called my financial advisor. He came up to my place, and we got on a conference call. And Aaron, why don't you pick it up from here?
Well, we called him again. And they said, yeah, that's the rate, 62 and 58. And you put them on mute and said, do you want to do it, Aaron? And I think I said something like I always say, which is, why don't you ask them to do it for less?
Well, this is where you work your magic.
Well, yeah, so you give the phone to me, and I tell them that they set the expectation to give you a $45 a night room. And they should be able to honor that. What are they going to lose you for?
Yeah, $12. So roughly $20-$30. They're willing to lose me as a customer.
For that difference, they're willing to lose you. So I asked to speak to a supervisor, and they give me the line that they always give me, where they say, "Well, the supervisor's just going to say the same thing." And I said, "That's okay. I would still like to ask." After putting me on hold for a minute, she gets back on the phone and says, "We'd be happy to extend you that offer." And they actually were able to extend you that offer, Chris, and then they told me I had to pay full price. So I really didn't get anything out of it.
So, buddy, I do appreciate you saving me $1 or $2. I'm sorry it didn't quite work out for you, but...
It didn't, but you know what? For $60 a night, which is what I think I paid, it was a great deal. The SLS, for those who do not know, the SLS is on the Strip, but it's towards the convention area side that's a little desolate.
Well, that would be another thing that I would call an ace about the SLS. A lot of people say, oh, it's so far down the Strip. It's all the way over by Circus Circus. There's nothing down there. I would spin that around. It's right in the middle, right between downtown Las Vegas, which is currently the Las Vegas hotspot, and the rest of the Strip. It's 7 minutes to the Strip, 7 minutes to downtown Las Vegas. It's the perfect location to stay if you want to experience both places.
Yeah, and since you took the car this time, I did the walk to the main area of the Strip, which is a nice walk, but you can do it.
Yeah.
So, and I took a cab from our hotel to Planet Hollywood, and it was about $12.
Yeah, so that's a reasonable price, and that gets you about mid-strip. And there are cheaper ways to go. If you wanted to take a cab to, say, the Wynn, that would be a much cheaper fare, and then from there you could find other transportation. So those are just a couple of examples of how we thought the SLS is an ace. Let's jump over to the Gold Strike Casino Hotel, which is located in Jean, Nevada.
What an awesome experience that was.
They hooked us up.
They really did.
This is a situation where it's really about the people. The two guys that we met, Max and Keith, they saw the little hitchBAT thing that we were playing around with, and they jumped in wholeheartedly and just said, yeah, this is silly. We want to participate in that. It was cool. It was really nice of them to just help us out.
Yeah, we made some really good friends. And how did this even come about? We've driven by the Gold Strike so many times. It's on our way from LA to Vegas.
Correct. It's off of the 15 freeway.
In Jean,
Nevada, which is roughly about 30 minutes south of Las Vegas.
And it's one of these things that you never really stop unless you had to. You wouldn't really know what's in there. But after learning about it, it's really great, and I'm so happy that we found this place.
Yeah, I will be honest, it is a slightly odd location. When you're driving from Los Angeles or anywhere in Southern California to Las Vegas, there are a couple of casinos to stop at. Of course, there are 2 or 3 of them right there at the border, right at the California-Nevada border,
Yeah.
Prim.
And those are normally the ones I stop at.
Yeah, those are the first chance to gamble as soon as you cross the line.
And you have
it's
some
also
outlets for the wife.
It's also where you can get gas, after that long drive across the California desert. It's where you stop. So it's typically where you stop, and maybe it's where your first gambling experience is. Then from there, you just drive another 40 minutes up the 15 to get to Las Vegas. I've never stopped at this casino before in the 20 years.
Minutes?
For the sake of this podcast,
Yes.
it's the 40 minutes.
Driving at the legal speed on the highway.
Well, that is another whole story because they have the 0 tolerance patches of driving now in Nevada.
Let me ask you, where is it not 0 tolerance? When have I ever been pulled over and they go, "Oh, we're just going to let this one slide now"? I've never had that happen. I mean, I'm not a pretty girl, but
Yeah. Well, let's not get off topic. I regret as soon as I said 0. As soon as I went off on that tangent, I was like, "Oh, this is my fault."
you're just going to distract me with that one.
So
But we went to the Gold Strike and
So we tell the whole story about the Gold Strike earlier in the show. No need to go into it again. Just a special thank you to Keith and Max here in the Aces segment. Definitely those guys in my book are a couple of aces. Thank you for hooking us up. The last ace that we're going to talk about on this show is the You Can Bet on That Gambling podcast. The 2 guys over there, Mark and Dr. Mike, are very kind and generous. They gave us a wonderful plug on their show last week, and so if you're joining us from their recommendation, thank you for giving us a try. We sincerely appreciate it. They also gave us a nice little plug on their website, which was 100% unsolicited. The plug on their show, I gave them $100 under the table. That's why they talked about that. But they threw in the link on the website for free. Amazing. Seriously, we do thank them for recommending our show. And if by some very small chance you haven't sampled their show, please do. I'll give you a quick rundown. There are 2 guys who talk about gambling. They're 2 lifelong friends, and the chemistry comes across in the show and makes it very entertaining. It's important to note that it's not just a gambling podcast, it's a storytelling podcast, because when you go gambling, a lot of crazy things can happen, a lot of silly things can happen, and the way that these guys tell their stories, it's so amusing and so entertaining. You get caught up in it, and you feel like you were there with them. One thing that I really do appreciate about their show is they keep it light, and they keep it clean, and they keep it fun. Typically, when people think of gamblers, they tend to think of the degenerate, low-life gambler who steals from his kids so he could go play the ponies or whatever. These guys show you that you can have a good time gambling. Gambling can be just simple, fun entertainment. They have a good time doing it. They're family men. They're good guys. I highly recommend their show. And I've often said that the Vegas Fanboy podcast has always kind of been the spiritual godfather of this show. Adam has been really generous with his time. But the secret truth is, it was Mark over at the You Can Bet on That podcast who first gave us our little boost up in getting this podcast started by responding to an email that I sent to him back in November 2014. So we're grateful for that, and we're grateful for the recent show of support that they gave us. In return for their continuing support, we would like to ask you, the listener, to please head over to iTunes and leave them a terrific 5-star review. It'll take 5-10 minutes of your time, but it means a lot to a podcaster. So if you wouldn't mind going into iTunes, finding the You Can Bet on That page over in iTunes, clicking on 5 stars, leaving a few good words. It doesn't have to be long. A sentence or 2 will do. Just positive review. It's good feedback for them, and it helps the show. And while you're there, if you feel up to it, do the same for some of your other favorite Vegas-themed podcasts. In this episode's Tip the Player segment, Ricky gives some really good off-strip suggestions. That's one of the cool things about Vegas. There's so much fun stuff to do. The Strip can't hold it all. It's like there are so many great restaurants and so much cool stuff that all comes muffin topping over the belt of the Strip.
I'm going to let that analogy settle in while you listen to Ricky's tips.
I guess my best advice is there's so much more to the city than just the Strip. You want to partake in some of the great eateries that are down there. There's a couple that are off the Strip, like the Hofbrauhaus, which is like one of the first places I got to go eat at, which was absolutely fantastic. The atmosphere.
Is it called the Hofbrauhaus?
Hofbrauhaus.
Okay.
It's basically German brewery that actually started up in Munich. The food is authentic German food. Like the beers are the alcohol, everything, just the drinks in general are authentic. The atmosphere, it's like just huge benches, like this thing. They even have the boot from like the Das Boot, the drink. Oh
yeah.
Man, yeah. They have.
I think that was also in Beer Fest.
It was
correctly.
Yeah. And that was one of the things. That was one of the first restaurants I got to eat at. That was just absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
The drinks, the food, the atmosphere. That's one of the hidden places because it's not quite on the Strip. It's a little off.
How far off?
I would say just a couple blocks.
Okay.
Probably. I think it's actually just a couple blocks. It's almost diagonal from the Hard Rock. And the Hard Rock is off the Strip as well. A lot of people don't realize it. It's actually down the street from Planet Hollywood and all those. So that's definitely a great hidden gem. And the if you want to see a little bit of like the Las Vegas, like the normal life, I guess you could say, if you want to see if there is such thing as normal life here in Las Vegas, the outskirt casinos like the Red Rock or Aliante. And these are all great places that you can stay even. They're resort-style hotels. They have plenty of amenities, like I said, movie theaters and whatnot. Of course, our experience up there at the racetrack. And there's more than that. A lot of people don't realize that Carroll Shelby's, like if you guys are motorsport enthusiasts or just car enthusiasts, Shelby has their own museum here. That has the original Shelby Museum.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, if you ever watched the old Z-Max or Shelby commercials, almost all of them are at Las Vegas Motor Speedway.
That's very cool.
Yeah. So there's also there's the Shelby Museum / factory, which is just south of the Strip. They moved from the Speedway to south of the Strip because they needed more room because they're expanding like crazy.
Yeah.
And they're actually in Town Square, just south of the Strip, which we have a great working relationship with them, obviously, because of our muscle car program. And then I'm trying to think. There's actually just quite a few places. I would just explore Mount Charleston if you're into hiking. If you're here for a long period of time and you're just sitting around, you're like, man, what else can I do? There is hiking if you want to just cool off, especially if you're in the heat of the summer like we are right now, where it's 114 degrees. You can go up there and it's good 20 degrees cooler, 20 at least, you know. So that'll at least get you below 100 degrees and kind of cool you off a little bit. And then the further you go up on the mountain, obviously it gets even cooler. Sometimes up to 40 degrees cooler. Okay. Because it was 100 degrees down here on the floor. Whereas up there it was 58, 60. Wow. You know. Yeah. So it's a big deal. It's a big difference. And there's so many cool exhibits too that a lot of people don't realize. There's the Luxor, if you're big in Titanic, they got the Titanic exhibit, which Melanie did get to go see, and she said they put an interesting twist on it. You show up and you're actually one of the guests that boarded the ship. They give you a name, and you follow their life all the way through up till the crash. And so you experience some of the things that they experienced, or you basically they try to make you feel what they felt that night.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, it's a neat little twist on that. Yeah. It's not just artifacts.
Yeah.
Then
it's putting faces
on
the people. Yeah.
Yeah, now you're seeing who they were. And you kind of fear for it. You know, oh my gosh, you know, I'm so and so. I have 2 children. Yeah. And my husband, and he had to stay on board or whichever. Or there was, you know, there's so many cool things like that if you came here for a year, you'd still miss a lot. Yeah, you know? You would. It's like one of those things that if you get a chance to go and see it, just go. Just do it. Yeah. So,
is there anything that you would like to promote or plug or think that people should go? I mean, I know we just talked about a lot of your favorites.
Sure.
But anything personal that you wanted people to go see?
With our company, if you guys get a chance to come out and see, we have a couple different websites, drivepetty.com. You can come up and see, drive stock cars or muscle cars, or go out to the Speedway. We'd love you guys to check out the Speedway. As far as promoting like good causes, Speedway Children's Charities is always a great cause, or for the Victory Junction Gang Camp, which holds a special place in my heart because my son actually went there, and it's a camp that Kyle Petty put into place for his son, Adam Petty. After he was killed, Adam always wanted to help kids that were sick or ill, so they created this camp where kids that wouldn't normally get to go to camp, they may have cancer, they may have or something as different as, like, my son was born with a cleft lip, cleft palate. They bring them all together, and all these kids with cleft lip, cleft palates get to stay in the same dorm and meet other kids like themselves. And they get to meet friends that maybe they're not so different, and basically have that camp experience. And when they go to these camps, parents don't pay for anything. All the medications are paid for by the camp. Everything's paid for by the camp. So,
and the camp is able to do that with the support of people and donations.
Exactly.
And we will provide a link to that charity, as well as to the whatever experiences and other things that you would like to promote on our website.
Sure, that'd be great. And those guys are definitely hold a special place in my heart. I donate a portion of my paycheck. I don't even see it. It comes right out and goes right to them. Wow. That's how important to me they are. So, and as far as Las Vegas goes, if you get a chance, support those outer casinos as well. You get to see a different side of Vegas. You get to see the local side, such as Aliante or Red Rock or any of the station casinos. So
I'll go one step further, and I know supporting the casinos is important because all these casinos employ a lot of people. But I'll go one step further and say, please support the outer restaurants.
Absolutely.
These are people who love food, want to open up a restaurant of their own. Perhaps it was their dream.
Yes.
And so to help keep that dream going, you can make a difference. So go visit them.
There's an actual mom and pop, like a Mexican food restaurant down the street. They are fantastic. Their service, the food. It's a little corner spot. They're called Leticia's. They are Leticia's on the northwest side of Vegas, like way northwest, like where I'm at, where we're at right now.
So it's a little bit of a trip to get to, so you got to be really committed. Is the food that good that you're going to drive 25 minutes outside of the strip?
Absolutely.
Really?
And the queso dip, if you get a chance to have it. Every time I go, I would even make that my meal. It is fantastic. And they even give you tortillas. Everything's homemade. All of her recipes are family homemade recipes. Yeah. All the food, the tortillas, it's fantastic. It's a mom and pop spot. It's not a chain restaurant. And it is definitely worth it.
Yeah. This is part of the reason why we do this segment, to show you some of the great eateries, other great experiences in this town. So that's this week's Tip the Player segment. Well, thank you for coming on the show.
You're very
appreciate
welcome.
It so much. I hope you had a good time.
I did. And it's neat to shed some light on what we have here in Vegas. And it's not just the shimmering lights. Granted, those are all great, but there's so much more to it than just that. So
All right. Well, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
All right, this is the part of the show where we color up and cash out. We want to thank Ricky for sharing his great stories with us. We have a link to the charities that he talked about if either of those charities touched your heart. Please check out the show notes. We have links to both Speedway Children's Charities and Victory Junction there. Thank you to the guys over at You Can Bet on That. We're off next week, so if you're itching for more Vegas talk or gambling talk, we'll have a fresh episode next Friday, as will our friend Adam over at the Vegas Fanboy podcast. Please follow the continuing adventures of hitchBAT. He will be beginning his journey to Philadelphia in a couple of weeks. You can leave us a voicemail over at 702-381-3657. Please subscribe to us on iTunes and leave us a kind review. Thank you to Katie, Aaron, and Brittany for co-hosting today. We thank you for listening. And remember,
what happens in Vegas
ends up on the podcast.
You're still here? It's over. Go home.
Are you ready? Ready? Steady.
Go.